Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Pocket Edition, and in particular, one of our episodes from our 7 Days of Christmas. Be sure to check out the previous episodes in this series that came out a couple of days prior, being Top Games of 2018, our personal picks, and our Gamer Gifts. That's right, we're recommending you gifts, not in terms of quality, in terms of ideas. Absolutely, we have no idea what quality these gifts are, so don't blame us if they break. This episode, however, I'm joined by Mark and Joe, and today we will be covering our piles of shame for 2018. So games that we picked up and did not finish that we wish we'd had finished, or games that we just unfortunately never got around to and slipped by us, and as Mark does not want it coined this way, they're on our bucket list or in our bucket list. So I'll go ahead and kick one off, guys. Into the Breach. That was a little strategy indie game that released earlier in the year. I think it was earlier this year. It could have been the very end of last... Okay, it was this year. Count actually recommended it to me. And it's a really cool tile-based... I think it's like a 16 by 16 tile-based game where it's like permadeath, right? You drop into these arenas and you try tackle these different regions of this world. One 16 by 16 grid at a time. Really good, really challenging. I think the reason I ended up putting it down was because of the permadeath system. Basically, once you kind of wipe, you lose all of your, campaign progress, and you start again. It's like a time travel-esque kind of situation. Have you guys seen Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like, right? So you drop into like the same generalized maps, and you kind of go through the same enemy types, and it ramps up in difficulty, and you get a little bit further every single time. And I think that's why I put it down. But highly recommend it. And I do actually want to go back and check it out, because I do want to finish it, because it's kind of one of those, when a strategy game beats you and you just feel like an idiot. That's where I'm at the moment. So I feel like I have to go back and beat that game. So unfortunately, that's my first pile of shame. Again, if you haven't played it, check it out. It's on Steam, I believe, and you can pick it up pretty cheap. But I'll kick it off to, let's go Joe.
Gotta be God of War.
Oh, no!
Yeah, I got into God of War when it first came out, and I couldn't put it down. It was so much fun. I was talking to you about this a couple of weeks ago, wasn't I? I was saying I want to get back into it, and I still haven't got back into it. I was loving that game, and the mechanics are so meaty, and we've discussed this before, and I love the story. The voice acting's brilliant in it. It looks gorgeous. I can't think of anything about the game that isn't fantastic. And
Joe, it's Game of the Year.
Yeah, it is. It is Game of the Year. And I just, for some reason, I put it down and I haven't picked it up again. And it's not the first time I've done this with games that I really enjoy. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who's done this with games.
You know what I did with this with, Joe? I did this with Mass Effect 2. And I came back to it 6 months later and actually enjoyed it even more after the break.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned earlier on when we were talking in the other one we recorded today about when I started playing. I don't know if I mentioned it at all. Actually, Deus Ex. I did that with Deus Ex. I started playing Deus Ex, stopped, and then went back to it later. And when I went back to it later, I couldn't put it down. But God of War is definitely the top of. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. The top of my pile of shame for this year, because, as you say, it is Game of the Year. It is a game that everyone should play. And though I'm wary about saying that to people, because I don't like people telling me what I must play. You have to decide for yourself. But it is one of the best, if not the best, Game of the Year. So yeah, I definitely need to get back to that one. So that really is pile of shame territory.
Yeah, that's absolutely, Joe.
It's worth it.
I don't know what to say. Yeah, I'm speechless. Absolutely pick that one back up. Try to do it before the end of the year, please.
I will try.
That's like shocking, that one. But it happens. Like I said, it happened to me with Mass Effect 2. I was really enjoying that game, and just something happened. I don't know what it was. I just fell off the scent or the trail, and just life got me, and I did other things, and it's kind of the more time that elapses, you start to like freak out about like all this time it's elapsed, and you just can't get your way back to it. It's really strange when that happens, which is, I guess that's kind of how you feel with God of War.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I picked it up and started playing it again, I wouldn't be able to put it down. It's just that going back to it,
you feel like you got to get back in the right frame of mind to really pick up where you left off, type thing.
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
Mark, hit us up.
Yeah.
What do you got?
It's a long list this year so far. But probably the one that's at the top of it that needs to be done, and I have returned to it but put it down again, is Dragon Quest XI. It's a JRPG. So the Dragon Quest franchise sort of ran parallel to Final Fantasy, made by Square Enix and everything like that. But where Final Fantasy was sort of more edgy and tried new things, Dragon Quest was almost exactly the same game every single time. And there's a very good reason for that, because they intend every Dragon Quest to be a new generation's Dragon Quest. They don't want, like they do want old players to play the new ones, but they kind of want new people to experience it every single time. Which is like this very interesting ethos that they've got. But the new one, they tried to actually make it a step forward, and it was really engaging, really fun, really crazy. But it has this annoying little design thing that pisses me off. The game's divided into 3 acts, which is like standard narrative sort of thing. But it's divided into 3 acts, but each act is about as long as a regular game. So the first act took me about 35 hours to finish. You journey throughout the entire game world. It ramps up to this big moment where you're like, okay, so I've got all of the special things that I need to fight the final boss with and everything like that. And then the game goes, nah, that was actually sort of the tutorial. And then they revert you back to the beginning, take away all of your party, take away all of your abilities, take away all of the map, and say, start again, Act 2. And then they do that for the 3rd act. And by the time I started the 2nd act, I was like, nah, I played my game, I'm done. And then, like a month ago, I came back, I was like, okay, let's try to do it. Then the 2nd act has been going longer than the 1st act. And I'm like, nah, I want to play it, it's good. But I can't bring myself to do it, and the longer time elapses, it's just, there are other games I can finish in the time that it takes me to play a 3rd of a regular game, sort of thing. It's just, I want to, but I can't.
It sounds like you're in a pickle.
I am.
I think you need to cut your losses on that one, Mark.
This is the problem with really long games, though. You look at them and you think, "Oh God, have I got the time for this?" And I know I certainly haven't. Even if
that's
you want
why
to play
I don't. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Actually, speaking of long, drawn-out experiences, this is a game I've included 2 games that I've not actually. Even started yet, because I do intend to start them, but I'm too scared. I'm just too scared. And it's actually Red Dead 2. I do want to check that game out. I know we've spoken about it at length, Mark.
Yep.
At length. Don't want to trigger Mark again. He's not a fan, guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's a game like it's. I feel like it's a pile of shame game, because it's one of those games. I feel like if you're a gamer, you owe it to yourself to check out and play. I mean, it's clearly in a lot of ways fantastic, but it's just too big. I just haven't got the time. Like, I guess it's a bucket list game, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's not. Basically, like if you say like you haven't got the time, it's worse because it's one of those games that doesn't really respect your time.
Yeah.
So you need to dedicate long periods to get anywhere, instead of like some of these games you can just stop and start pretty easily. Like I mentioned in another video, the Yakuza franchise, you can save anywhere. It doesn't matter how engaging or how long the story is. You just pop up a menu, save, and come back later.
Yeah, it's a shame because I honestly do want to play it because I really enjoyed number 1. But like you said, I feel like I'm just restricted by life and I can't play this game. Like, I feel like if I were to pick it up and play it now, it would be a legitimate pile of shame game because I'd have to put it down. I would. Like, I feel like I'd chip away so slowly that I'd just either lose interest and it would fall on my pile of shame, or, I'd just have to stop.
Yeah.
So
it's not like for God of War, didn't you take time off just to play it?
Yeah, I did. I took 2 weeks off just to play that, and that was only like a 35-hour experience. So maybe that's what you need to do, Joe.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ship my kid off to Australia. He can come and stop with you for a month, and I'll play my backlog.
I'll just get stuck playing all these little kiddie games. I'll probably have a blast playing Fortnite. Whatever he
right,
plays.
you play Splatoon.
I like Minecraft. Yeah. Oh, Splatoon. He'd probably wreck me. Terrible.
You get bodied in
likes
Splatoon.
he likes online shooters, so you probably end up playing. Oh God, I've forgotten its name. You know, the one with the building and the
Fortnite?
island.
Yeah.
Fortnite. Yeah, he's a massive fan of Fortnite. Loves Fortnite.
I was going to say, he's not playing PUBG.
He's not playing PUBG. No, I haven't let him play that yet. He probably would if I let him.
Oh yeah, don't let him see it. Don't let him see it. He'll be fixated if he catches wind of that. It's Fortnite, but for adults with real guns. I had a very similar experience with that when I was younger, and I've brought this up 100 times, but Doom on the SNES, from like playing, Mario and stuff to I saw my Doom pop it in one day, and I saw about 10 seconds of it, and then from that moment on, it was first love.
Oh yeah, that's a game changer, that one. A game changer.
Actually, I think have we come full circle back to me already? No, I've just gone. Sorry. Joe, you're up.
Is it me? Is it? Okay, well, this is a bit of a sneaky one because it's technically not a game that released this year. It released last year, but it's just had a physical release. So I think I'm entitled to include it because a lot of people may be now starting to pick it up, and that's Hellblade.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and
yes.
The problem I had with Hellblade is I started playing it and I was really into it, and then I had an update to my PlayStation and it went wrong, and so I lost some of my save games. And the reason I lost them was because I'd been moving backwards and forwards because I got two PlayStations and I'd been moving backwards and forwards between them. So, unbeknownst to me, I hadn't set the PlayStation up to automatically save my game saves to the cloud, and so I lost a few, and Hellblade was one of them. So unfortunately I lost my Hellblade save game. I lost my oh god, what's the one with the mech dinosaurs?
Horizon
Zero Dawn. Yeah. I lost my Horizon Zero Dawn save game, which was I was well into that, so I had to start again. So unfortunately for me, who's somebody who struggles to put in a lot of time into games anyway, it was difficult to go back. But Hellblade is definitely, well, both of those games, but Hellblade, as I say, because it's been released in a physical copy this year, and I'm almost tempted to pick up a physical copy for Xbox, although it's on Game Pass, so I don't really need to.
Joe, question. Just quickly interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Did that hit Game Pass when they acquired the developer?
Afterwards, yeah. It hit recently, actually, fairly recently, in the last month or so, I think.
So it wasn't like around E3 then?
No, it
didn't.
I think they I might be wrong on this, but they may have announced that it was coming to Game Pass. I honestly don't remember.
That makes sense, yeah.
But it's on Game Pass now, and it's had a physical release now on both PlayStation and Xbox. And I've got it digitally on PlayStation. Obviously, I can play it on the Xbox because I have got Game Pass, but I'm tempted to pick up a physical copy because I just think it's one of those games that it's really worth supporting because it's just such a fantastic game to play, and it's a serious game as well. It's it says some serious things.
Yeah,
and I just love it, and I really want to go back to play it. It was one of my favourite games of last year, one of my favourite games of this year because, like I say, it's had the physical release, and yeah, so pile of shame, definitely that one. But maybe you can let me off that one because it wasn't my fault that I haven't finished it.
Yeah, that's a completely
that's
different
rough.
issue.
Yeah, that is very rough. That's like a forced pile of shame.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's rough. That's very rough. Yeah. All right, Mark, I think you're up, man.
Yeah. Back to me. Okay, what's this? Like, I've got a big list. I was just wondering what one hurts me the most. Well, it's actually not necessarily that I haven't finished it completely. It's just Octopath Traveler on another JRPG. Octopath Traveler on Switch. There's a whole you have to play 8 different characters, and each of them have got 4 chapters to their story. Nothing too major. But after you clear all that, there's a number of complicated steps to unlock the true ending. which kind of binds all of the 8 stories together and actually gives the story some sort of cohesion. And it's like really recommended that you do this stuff. But if you do it, it requires you to have all of your characters like max level, all of the best gear, all of the best skills, all of the best strategies, and you have to use all 8 characters on a giant boss gauntlet where you have to fight every single final boss again, plus the new final boss that's got 3 stages, and you have to do it all without breaking. Like, there's no saves, nothing. Like, if you fail, you have to do it all over again. And I don't have it in me. I want to do it. I want to finish the game because it's fun to finish an RPG, because you're like, yeah, I did this giant thing, but it's so daunting. Like, I haven't attempted it, but the idea of it just sets me off. Like, I can't even commit to it. And it sucks because it's such a good game, and I know I'll have fun, but if I fail, then it'll feel really bad, because I'll always have that thing of like, oh, I tried and failed, but now I'm never going to try, so I never know if I'll fail. So like, I'm happier living in that sort of ignorance than living in one where I'm like, I wasn't good enough.
Oh, that's like me into the breach, man.
Yeah.
I've got to return and beat it.
So yeah.
Oh, very good. All right. Speaking of my list though. Last one I have, real quick. Technically not a this year game, but and another game that I hadn't started until actually probably a few days ago. Actually now, so I have actually returned to my pile of shame, and I'm trying to conquer it. Halo Wars 2, an unusual one to be on my pile of shame. Actually, it's pretty much the only Halo. Well, it is the only Halo entity that I have not played. And as any Halo fan knows, Halo Wars 2 was some time ago now. Probably a good, Joe, it must be a good year or two back now, right?
Blimey, I think didn't they announce it at E3 year before last or something? It was a while ago.
Yeah, it definitely didn't come out this year. I know that. But I've finally gotten on board with that. And I don't really know what stopped me from getting on board with that. I think it was the thought of playing so much StarCraft 2 on PC that I didn't want to go back down to a console and play Halo Wars 2. I know that you can get Halo Wars 2 on PC as well. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't thinking clearly at the time. Anywho, long story short, I've actually picked up Game Pass and I'm playing that on PC. Or I just started playing on PC this week. So that is the final one in my pile of shame for 2018. So a pretty short list for me, actually. I'll admit, like, there actually hasn't been a whole lot that has grabbed my attention this year. And therefore, there hasn't been much that I've missed. Because I've just kind of been able to chip through it all. So that is my list for 2018, guys. So I'll hand it over to you two to round us off.
Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose if for my third one, there's a whole load of them that I would like, but people keep telling me that there's a couple that are narrowed down here, which you've already mentioned. Octopath Traveler, not my sort of game usually, but talking to Count and now listening today, that's a game that I definitely want to get into and give a go. But again, you were saying about it being daunting. It's one of those that I keep looking at it and sort of almost holding at arm's length and thinking, shouldn't I? No, I probably haven't got time for it. And then Detroit as well.
Oh,
Sorry,
Detroit. Yeah, I just finished Detroit. I just finished it the other day.
I mean, that's one... Sorry, go on.
I said, like, you've got to commit time to that because it's a movie, like, sort of thing, but it's longer than a movie. Like,
yeah.
That sort of thing. You can't do other things because you need to focus entirely on that.
It's just the story attracts me to that one. I love the idea of it, you know? And I'm not always down with those type of games, but it looks like something I could get my teeth into. So that's another one that I'd like to give a go.
I will say, if you try it, things can go pear-shaped really quick.
And they will if it's me playing it.
I had it so good, and then I screwed up right at the end.
Oh, no, man. That must be so frustrating.
Yeah, there's like, not to spoil anything, but there's like one thing where I needed to know the name of someone. And there were multiple instances, like I looked up later, there were multiple instances where I could find out this person's name. and it just somehow never came up naturally in my playthrough. And by the time they prompted me, like, well, say his name or you die, I was like, who? Just shot. I was like, mother effer. It's just shot and then the credits roll. I was like,
that reminds me of when I started playing Dark Souls, and I failed to pick up the shield. And I told my mate about this, and I was trying to play it, and I just didn't have a shield, and I kept just dying. And I told my mate about this, and he practically fell on the floor laughing. It was so pathetic. It was awful. And I didn't get very far with Dark Souls, needless to say.
Yeah, no, neither did I, Joe.
I think that's a game for masochists.
I love Dark Souls.
You're a masochist.
Of course you do.
So yeah, I think
right, that's your list.
That's me.
That's
there
not
are
too
others,
bad.
but I'll leave them.
Oh, Joe, did you want to give us one from your all-time pile of shame? You said you had a pretty big list.
Oh God, all-time pile of shame. I mean, if you're gonna really get into it, I think there's two that probably narrows down to, and it would be between Fallout 3 and Deus Ex, because I mentioned Deus Ex and Fallout 3 are two of my favourite all-time games. Again, though, I can let myself off a bit with Deus Ex because back in the mists of time, I had a power surge on my PC I think I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and I think I was about 20 minutes from the end of the game.
No, that's right.
And I had a power surge on my computer, and it corrupted my hard drive, and it was awful. I lost all my saves and everything. So that one, and Fallout 3 is just me being crap. I don't know what happened there. Something happened, and again, I was right at the end, and that's one I keep meaning to go back to and finish it. I'm literally again about 20 minutes from the end. So
damn. I had a similar experience with Fallout 4. Actually, I had a game-breaking bug somewhere in there. Couldn't tell you how long it was, but I would have finished that game. I absolutely would have finished that game if it wasn't for that bug. So, but I just was not prepared to start all over again. I just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah,
like when stuff like that happens, it's hard to do it again because you want it to be the same, but you also don't want to go through the exact same experience again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mark, finish us up.
Yeah. It's been the game's been mentioned a couple times already in this episode, which is funny. And it is technically a new game, but also a very old one. Well, not very old, but fairly old. I've never finished the original Dark Souls. As much as I adore the franchise, I have not gotten very far in the first game.
Did you miss the shield?
No, I got a little bit further than you. I think. There's just this one boss where you fight him in this incredibly tiny room. It's like maybe 3 square meters. It's just a tiny room. He's like 3 times taller than you and takes up a third of the room. And he's got these giant swords and can basically reach 2/3 of the room. And it's just this annoying cat and mouse game. And after failing like 20 times, I can't do it. And I just put it down. And like I adore the idea of Dark Souls. I just couldn't do it. And I went on to play the rest of the franchise, and I did better there and finished off a lot. But the first game's always been like niggling at me, like I need to finish it. And the remaster came out on Switch this year, and I've got it. And it's that same sort of sense of I've got to do it this time. But it's working up the courage to start it that first time. Because like I did it for the other games where I pretty much pulled a Sully and made sure that the next 2 weeks of my life have nothing else going on in terms of games, so I can just do that because you can't forget how that game plays by playing something else and then go back because you've lost all of your skill and progress.
Yep.
So it's hopefully this release will be it, but I definitely won't finish it by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a rough one, dude. It's a rough one to be on there, to have looking at you, staring at you, taunting you.
Yeah. it's worse to fake my way through conversations, like, because I saw both of my brothers play through the entire game. So I know how it goes, sort of thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that boss there is tough. Have you tried this build? It's like, how did you do it? Oh, don't mind how I did it.
Just full of shit. Oh, all right. Let's wrap her up. So be sure to let us know down below in the comments what your piles of shame are for 2018. Feel free to cherry pick a few from previous years as well. I know, it's almost impossible to play everything every year that catches your attention, but let us know down below. Thanks for joining us, Joe and Mark, again for our second episode in a row. As per usual, if you're listening to us on any of the popular podcasting services such as SoundCloud, be sure to come on over and check out our YouTube channel, GameCast, where you'll find a variety of other content in the form of news and reviews and other bits and bobs that you cannot get on those other podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode of 7 Days of Christmas. Until then, have a good one.